Hey students, we have reached the end of Unit 2, and so this is your Unit 2 end of the unit assessment or test. And so just a reminder that these tests are 50% of your grade. A lot of you did really well in your first one, but please make sure that you do this as this really affects your grade quite a bit. And this just tells me that you know how to connect these ideas that we've talked about in class to the real world. So this is the unit assessment here. I'm posting it early, but it is not due until next Wednesday. I know supply and demand is fresh in your mind, so I thought maybe some of you might want to get it done early, but if you do it next week, that is no problem as well. So in the Google Classroom here, this is the assignment. Essentially, you're going to find 4 articles that represent supply or demand and answer some questions along with those articles. So I'm going to run through an example that I have right here. And so this is one that I did probably back in October, I believe. And I didn't want to steal any of your ideas right now. And obviously, you could use the pandemic for like 4 of your articles easily, but you can find other articles too. They do not need to be related to the pandemic. But a lot of you guys responded about different things that you would buy or do after the pandemic's over, or things that you've gotten now. Those might be things that you could write about or articles that you could find. So totally up to you how you find that. So here's an example of a Google Doc filled out. I did mine on vaping. And so this was an article I found, and I put the link in here. And I read through this vaping article, and it just talks about vaping's related lung injury cases jump to 1,200, basically 1,300, and deaths rise to 26. And I read through the article and kind of found some information on what is happening in different states, the percentages of different things, pieces like that. So I found that article and I put that link on question number 1. I put the title of the article, I put when I found it, and then what would summarize the article. And again, it talked about like lung injury cases linked to vaping has increased, and just talked about some things like that. Then what you need to do is talk about the key economic principles. So does the event described in the article increase or decrease demand or supply? So think about back to your tires and tigers and think about the main subject of your article. Is it talking about a demand thing or a supply thing? Now in mine, it was talking about like deaths that are related to vaping. Well, if I know that, then I probably am not going to vape. So the demand would decrease for vaping devices. And then it says, based on the article, which shifter is responsible for changing supply or demand? Again, thinking about the back to tires and tigers, which one do you think it would be? And because I think it might cause like death or an illness, that would be taste to become less popular because there's negative information on vaping. And then C says, draw a supply and demand graph below. Make sure to label the price and quantity in the supply and demand curve, and then what happens to the price and quantity. So I just Googled this. So I just typed in Google Images and clicked on, or typed in a decrease in demand and found this nice graph. That's all I did. And then I inserted the graph right here. So I did not draw that. I just copied a picture and put it in there. And then according to the graph above, what happened to the equilibrium price and quantity? Well, if demand decreased, then I can see that price and quantity would go down. Then the last question says, what other economic concepts did the article illustrate? So think back to the 7 principles of economics: scarcity, trade-offs, cost versus benefits, future choices now, future consequences, um, the market, all those types of things. Well, if I think back to those things, I think about, well, my current choice has future consequences. If I vape right now, there might be consequences in the future that might be bad for me. And then I'm weighing the cost versus benefits as well. So just think of some of those and you can list those on there. So you'll do 4 articles. You can split it up. You can do 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday. You can do them all in one day, however you'd like to do it. So to look for the articles, you can just Google anything if you want. You could type something into Google, a topic that you think would have a high demand or supply at this point, or a low demand or a low supply. But you could also click on this link. It says Google News, and if I click on that, it will give me current news and I can read through like the governor orders closures of beaches and state parks. So what would that happen to demand or supply for state parks or beaches? What does that affect? So I could just kind of scroll through, find ones that I'm interested in, click on them, read them. Wow, welcome to the worst economy ever. Yikes. Maybe don't click on that one. So then you can look and read these. You could also click on business. That has different ones that you could look at. That would also have to do with supply and demand, technology, like anything that's new technology. A lot of times that would increase the supply of whatever product that they're looking at. So that's where you can find articles too. So that you can click on this link, I'll bring you to Google News, or you can find any of the ones that you'd like to look at as well. Again, really important that you do this assignment because it is 50% or worth all the unit assessments at the end are 50% of your grade. So that can really help your grade or not help it. And it's not that bad of an assignment, I don't think. So uh, please do it. If you have questions, just let me know. If there's anything that's difficult on here, please let me know. Again, this is what you're filling in. You have the example. It's the same stuff that I just did. You're finding four articles again on supply and demand. If you have questions on it, let me know. If you don't get it exactly right, we're just looking that you understand that supply and demand is happening in the economy and what's going to happen to price and quantity. If you don't get every single thing right, that is okay. I know we haven't been in class together, obviously, so I'm just looking to see, do you understand it a little bit and can kind of relate it to current events? All right. Hope that helps. Again, reach out with any questions that you might have. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.